All right, so with the second kind of little mini lecture in social psychology, we're going to take a look at some of the concepts that you're going to see every day. These are focused more on you as an individual. We've got another set we'll look at that look at our perception of others. One is the idea of attitude. And attitude, obviously, we're familiar with that term. Parents will say sometimes, "Don't give me attitude," or coaches will say things like, "Your attitude determines your altitude." Um, they are, in social psychology sense, um, this our attitude is our evaluation of a certain person, situation, uh, something like that. And so there are a couple of ways that we get our attitudes. Our attitudes can be inherited. There can be an environmental factor there where maybe we support a particular political party, right? Because that's the one that mom and dad support. It can also be learned. We can have an interaction with a particular object or thing, and then that forms our attitude towards that object. I love sports, and one of the things you'll see a lot of times is people growing up will support the same teams as a parent. If that parent is a really big fan, if you're always around, Colts things, right, that can influence. But if there's a player that captures everybody's imagination, right? As I'm doing this, that Michael Jordan documentary has been going on. And I remember in the 90s, man, just everybody knew who Michael Jordan was. Everybody was following those teams, those games. And even if you didn't live near Chicago, right, you found yourself being a Bulls fan just because that's who Michael Jordan played for. And so this can be something from nature, and it can also be something more from nurture. Some attitudes get based on things we believe. Some attitudes are based on things that we feel, and other attitudes are based on things that we do. And so when you're talking about somebody's attitude towards a particular thing, you usually have to look at one or even more of those factors to see how those those attitudes can change. Strong attitudes are important. If we have a very strong attitude, we have a lot of confidence in what they're doing, and those are kind of guiding principles that we have. You can have different levels of strength when it comes to attitude. Attitudes can Weaker attitudes are more susceptible to being changed. One of the ways that we start to get this is we process the information that's coming in. There are really two ways that you process all information that's coming in. One is kind of spontaneously. You just have an instant kind of gut reaction to whatever it is. And that could be, walking through a store and you see a particular outfit or something like that that really attracts your attention. You're like, oh, wow, I really like that, right? That's just an initial impression. Thoughtful message processing is the idea that we're really going to think about it. So, say maybe you're going to go out and purchase a new computer to go to college. You don't just want to go in and pick out the newest and the shiniest thing. You really dig in. You do your research on processing and memory and how long the thing's going to last and what the ratings are, right? That's a more thoughtful processing. And we see commercial messages. Science will tell you, you see 3,000 commercial messages a day. And most of them are geared to this idea of we want to be on the spontaneous. We want people to just kind of go for it. You'll see certain ads like car ads and things, right? If you've ever seen one of those that talks about, well, we've won so many awards, right? For J.D. Powers awards for this, that, and the other. That's going a little more to that thoughtful process, right? When you're thinking about purchasing a car, what are you worried about, right? Well, you want something that's going to last. You want something that's going to keep your family safe, and so all of those factors come in. And so there are a couple of things that we consider when we think about these thoughtful processes. How strong is the message that's coming through? Who are the people that are delivering the message? And then how does this relate to me personally. Now, the interesting thing is, we can have beliefs, and we can have things that go counter to our beliefs, though. And then as they go counter, we have some defense mechanisms that are going to pop up that say, well, okay, well, we're not going to listen. I'm not going to listen to this particular person or voice because of this, right? We kind of do some mental gymnastics so we don't have to do a lot of thinking with our with these deep beliefs that we have. There are some ways that you can resist being persuaded in certain ways. One is developing that idea of a strong attitude. The stronger your attitude is to a particular topic, the less likely you are to change it. You can forewarn people. And so just kind of say, hey, this person is going to try to do this, right? If you go to a car lot, right, and you're going to buy a car, it's a good idea to look and say, okay, well, this is, these are the kind of tricks, these are the kind of things that these guys are going to offer me. So I need to be ready for it, right? And so if you're, if you've kind of got an idea in your head of what's going to happen, the other is the idea of inoculation, that you kind of you go through all those arguments in your own mind. Come up with your own defenses. It's the same way as getting a vaccine or something like that would inoculate you against a disease. This could be an inoculation against being persuaded about something in particular. One of the things I think is most interesting is the idea of what's called a cognitive dissonance. And I put the definition up on the screen for you. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort that occurs when we behave in ways we see as inappropriate, such as when we fail to live up to our own expectations. And basically, it's the idea that you know what you should do, but you don't do it. And so that can create a cognitive dissonance. I know this is the right thing to do, but something is telling me that I shouldn't do it. And so when you see here, I got a couple of examples for you. One is you care about the environment, right? You say, hey, I'm really sold out on this environment stuff, but you drive a big gas guzzling SUV. And so what people will do is they will say, well, I need the extra room, or I'm doing this for the power, the torque, whatever it is with cars. But it's the idea you can hold these two thoughts. I'm an environmentally conscious person, but at the same time, I'm driving this vehicle that's not. Or, man, I love animals. I think animals are awesome, but I love a Texas Roadhouse steak, right? And so how do you balance those two things? You love living in the place where you live, but the person you love gets a job somewhere different. And so your attachment to one is pulling at your attachment to the other. I like this one. You think it's important to clean up for your pet after it poops. Maybe you're out on a walk or something like that, but you don't have anything to pick it up. And so what do? You kind of look around, nobody's watching, and you take off. And so that's the idea. Cognitive dissonance can be really uncomfortable for people. And so what they try and do is resolve that cognitive dissonance in ways where they'll try to explain away whatever the thing is, or like I said, say you've got this idea in your head and you think this is the way things go. Well, somebody comes with evidence that just proves you're dead wrong. Our reaction is not to say thanks for setting me straight. I feel really good about this. It's the kind of attack to fight back against what we're seeing. So would encourage you to think about maybe a place in your life where you have cognitive dissonance happening, and see how you're holding on to those two thoughts.